and welcome back to the Air Show Room podcast. In today's episode, we are going to be sort of leading up to Midlands Air Festival, and we have a very special guest with us. My name is Dan, I'm your host, and joining me are my two co-hosts, Harry.
Hello.
And Chloe.
Hello.
And joining me is a special guest from Midlands Air Festival, Trevor Graham.
Hello.
Well, we might as well get straight into the podcast and get going. For people that potentially don't know who you are, what you do, who are you, what do you do at Midlands Air Festival?
Well, I was one of the two people that created the show. Generally, I'm one of the flying display directors. This year, I'm sort of over and above that. I'm the aviation director of aviation. So I cover all of the display flying, the arrivals and departures, and of course the balloons as well.
Yeah. How did the show come about then? Because it's kind of a weird place to have it. So how did the show sort of come about? Where did it come from?
Well, we wanted to be different, and I've been in air displays for many years, too many years really. I go right the way back to the Great Warbirds and the Biggin Hill International Airfair. And I've been associated with the Fighter Meet, Flying Legends, Duxford, all of those historic shows. And I decided one day that I would probably want to do my own show, because I've been giving advice to everybody for years. And I think the very first one that I did, I created the Western Supermare Air Days.
Oh, yeah.
Ran that for about 6 years. And then several other shows. The Sea Wings 2000 in the year 2000, the big seaplane show that we had down on the Solent, where we brought in 25 seaplanes and flying boats and things, and had a big air display down there. We also had 13 Spitfires and all that sort of goodies. So that was a one-off. And then what was the next thing? Was the old Sarum Air Show, which was a nice little air show. Did that. And then from those successes, I was commentating at a balloon event in Eastbourne. And a guy came in, the weather was terrible, obviously couldn't fly any balloons. The guy came into the commentary box who had seen me commentating at Bristol Balloon Festival some years previously when he was a lad. And we got talking about running shows and things, and I said I've always wanted to run a show that actually has an awful big lot of balloons and a lot of air displays.
Yeah.
Big problem is when you're running a balloon festival, if you get winds over about 5 or 6 knots, you don't get any balloons flying. Yeah. So in my book, you really need the air show to back it up. So that's how we started, and we suddenly decided, we'll give it a go. We'll have a look around for suitable places. Went to the usual airfields and things, and nothing was really suitable. A colleague of mine said, you should look at Ragley Hall. It's got a great big estate. We've got room for a little airstrip, and people would love to go there. So we went and looked, and thought, yep, this is it. This is the sort of place that we want to put the sort of air show that we had in mind. So that's how we got to Ragley. We actually got the show off the ground.
That's brilliant. So what gave you the idea to combine the flying display and hot air balloons together?
Well, as I said before, the problem with a hot air balloon show is that it's very weather dependent, wind dependent. So if you try and do one or the other, if you try and do the balloons without the backup of the air display, then if the wind doesn't allow you to fly the balloons, then you've got an awful lot of disgruntled people wanting their money back or arguing with you. So my concept was to have the balloons and the air display on the same day. Balloons can only fly very early in the morning and very late in the evening in this country, so it works out very well. So we put the air display in the middle of that, and if we don't have balloons, Then, of course, we've had a great air display, and so everybody goes home still happy. So that's how we combine the two. And we wanted something different, and basically it was the combination of James McDonald's experience. He was a highly experienced balloon pilot, and I was highly experienced in the airshow world. So we combined those two talents and put this unique display together.
It's a brilliant concept. So, moving on, do you ever think about having themes for the air show, or do you just prefer getting acts that are available, slash, that people enjoy more?
I've done themes at other air shows, and I've produced themes because that's the other thing I do as commentary producer as well as a flying display director. And it works sometimes in the right places, but we are an old-fashioned general display, and we don't want to tie ourselves down to themes because we haven't got the facilities that Duxford and Shuttleworth and Rhiannon have got, where you've got a lot of people, a lot of aircraft that are based at the site. We've got no aircraft based at our site. We have to put everything together from Tuesday till the day we open, and then we've got to clear it all off again by Monday. So themes don't really work for our show. We do tend to put a nod of in for maybe VE Day or 90th anniversary of the Spitfire, but themes are not a very heavy thing. We tend to go on what we can find, what is interesting, what is new, and what has not been to either the show or this country.
Yeah.
Well, I think you've just started touching on it. So, without having the themes, then what's your sort of process that you go for? Sort of, how do you decide what aircraft to get for the show for that year?
Right. Well, we all know in the business, we know what's available on the British scene generally. That's there are a few secrets every now and then, and we have to sort of keep them under wraps until the we start to release the show. So we've got a baseline of our British stuff, and then it's a question of intelligence, knowing the right people in the right places to find out what's being restored, what may be restored in time for our show, what maybe coming to other air shows that we can share with. We don't often get that facility because we're the first major show in the calendar, so a lot of those things don't come in the country until later. So it's an organic thing, really. It's we look around to see what there is, what our audience would like to see, and if we can afford it, because obviously these big ticket items are not called big ticket for for no reason. They are highly expensive, horrendously expensive to get some of these jets across from Europe. But we think our audience appreciate them, and we mix in the best of the British stuff that we've got, and we come up with the Midlands Air Festival.
Sounds good.
That's very good.
Is there a conscious choice to make the flying display as different and unique as possible every year, especially the less seen items in the flying display?
Yes, basically, simple answer. Yes, we try and bring in as much new stuff as we can whilst supporting the best of British display items. We've got to keep supporting the British items, the local items, because if we don't, we're just going to end up with a few highly expensive jets coming in from an exotic location, and the rest of the show there won't be one. Because if we don't give the bookings to the people that are restoring the British stuff, the airshow scene will fall apart.
Yeah, definitely.
Agreed. Well, so following on from that, actually, so do you ever feel like proud in securing like historical aircraft for the show, like knowing that you have an opportunity at the show to present a piece of history?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that's part of the reason that we do it, do the show. We like to educate people. 40%. This is an interesting fact. 40% of our audience have never been to an air show before, and
Wow.
Oh wow!
that continues. So we're quite proud that we're attracting new people into the show, which is why we're not. Gets back to themes. We're not really into themes, and we're not really into bending over backwards for the absolute aviation enthusiast.
Mm.
We hope we bring stuff in that the aviation enthusiast will like, but there's a big market out there, or a big audience out there, for people that have never been to an air show. And we feel quite proud that we're bringing new people into the air show scene. And once they've seen ours, they might think, oh well, look, there's something else going on maybe in September. We'll go and see that. So yes, we are proud of bringing new stuff in, historic stuff, and telling the aviation story.
Oh, that's very good to hear. Well, just actually another follow on from that. Like, I think you may have touched on this briefly before. Like, so how much effort goes into securing those classic jet demonstrations, especially for some examples like afterburning ones like the MiG 17 and the Draken. Like, how much effort goes into securing those for your show if you choose to display them? That is
A lot of effort. The negotiations start back in probably September, just after we put in the applications for the Red Arrows and the MOD stuff.
Oh wow.
The next thing on the line is to start negotiations with the overseas operators. There are quite a few hurdles to overcome. There's some permissions that we've got to get through. We've got to get them a UK display authorization, which means that they've got to display themselves to a UK DA. When we were still in Europe, their DA would be acceptable. But when we came out of EASA, things changed, not for the better. And the rules now say that everybody has got to fly for a UK DA. Now that can be organised on the week that they arrive, but that is very, very dodgy, because if they don't get the DA, then all your investment has gone for nothing. Or you've got to send a UK DA over to their airfield, get them to do their display, and get their display authorization done there. So it's a complex thing, and it's expensive. Of course, you've got to send somebody over there, got to fly them over there, house them for a couple of days. Yeah, and it takes a long time, and it takes a lot of money. So when you see an 8-minute display of a MiG or any of the other afterburner jets, we can't burn £50 notes as quick as the aircraft is flying by, and that's no joke.
Yeah, no, I can imagine.
If I gave you a pile of £50 notes and said, right, you've got to burn all that lot before the guys have finished their 8-minute slot, you'd be left with about 75% of the money that you haven't burnt.
Oh my goodness. Oh wow.
So it's high risk bringing those guys over, and of course it's high risk for us, because sometimes we have to bring them over, display, and then they go back to Europe to do another display, and then other people later on in the season, like Duxford for instance, they would bring them back, but they can then farm them out to other displays and cut down their financial input. Sometimes we can't do that. We've just got to suffer it. We've got to take the hit and hope everybody likes it. I don't know how to do it, actually. Why the hell would you do that? It's like burning money in the rain.
With the afterburning classic jets, because there's been quite a lot of a downturn in the classic jet sort of scene within the UK since Shoreham. You have had a lot of success with getting, obviously, the Draken 2 years, officially for the full display 2 years ago, obviously getting the MiG-17 this year, where other shows don't seem to. They've got like the whatchamacallit, the Sabre,
Sabre. Yeah,
Sabre's
we've
been
had the
like Duxford,
Sabre.
etc. However, you guys have seemed to have got those afterburning jets, which other people, for example, Riat or things haven't been able to get any of the Swedish historics, or so far until more recently people have started announcing the MiG-17. How much effort actually, is there a lot of paperwork with that? Because because they put the sort of restrictions on the swept wing aircraft. Because you've said in the past, especially with the Sabre and stuff, that they've had to drastically change their normal display, what they do in Europe, to have more
Yeah.
wing overs when they come over. There's a
Yeah.
lot of sort of time and effort going into planning displays like that as well.
Yes, there is, to make it look good. We are not allowed to do any formal aerobatics at an off airfield. At an off seaside site.
Yeah.
So they can't do anything that is classed as an aerobatic manoeuvre. But they can do stuff that looks like an aerobatic manoeuvre and is exciting enough for the public. It's a case of Hobson's choice. You see them displaying like that in this country, or you don't see them at all. So we're always constantly working on the CAA to get the restrictions lifted. There's no sign of that coming at the moment. We've taken a two-pronged approach. We've asked for it to be lifted, and then we've also asked for it to be slightly lifted. So there might be some glimmer of hope in the near future, or the distant near future, that they will allow swept wing jets to do some mild aerobatic manoeuvres, very mild. But don't quote me on that. That's just what we're asking for. It's not what the CAA are saying they're going to do. So that's the progress on that. We do our best with that.
Yeah.
And yes, there are things that need to be done. They've got to have a 250 mile an hour exemption certificate to allow them to fly a little bit faster through our airspace. There's other things that they've got to do. They've got, as I say, we know that we've gone through the DA. Their insurance has got to be valid in this country. So yeah, it's an ongoing battle really with everything that tries to stop you having them over here.
Yeah. We've been to the show probably now 2 or 3 years, and my favourite aircraft over that time has been the Saab Draken, especially the second time. Was it
Yes.
last year, the year before, whatever it was?
Yeah, before
the amount
last.
of afterburn at you surprised me so much. What has been
Yeah.
your favourite aircraft that you've managed to get as a team over the time of doing Midlands Air Festival?
Oh, almost certainly the Draken. It was my favourite aircraft anyway, and I've always said if I'm going to do another air show where I've got some budget, then I want a Draken before it's grounded. We don't know how long any of these things are going to remain in the air, so I'm sort of trying to get my favourites and the most dramatic. I mean, you look at the shape of the Draken when it first arrives; it's amazing. It's sort of a mini. The enthusiasts would probably crucify me for this, but it's a sort of a mini Vulcan, and it's got that sort of cachet of the Vulcan. It's breathtaking. It's a breathtaking aircraft, especially when he turns the taps on.
Yes.
He did the second time. The first time he did actually do what he did was a lot of afterburner, but not very long, because he was running out of fuel basically, and he'd been sent on a wild goose chase by UK air traffic on the way down from his entry point, which I think was Teesside, and he wanted 30,000 feet to conserve fuel, and they gave him 4,000 feet all the way down, so he was burning fuel like crazy. And we got to halfway through the display, and he just said, "I'm bingo fuel, I've got to go." And we said, "Of course, go." And that was that. And then he came back and did it properly. And yes, he did it properly, very properly. Yeah, I was delighted with that. Yeah. Yes, we're looking to have him back. what we've got to be careful of, and I suppose every air show's got to be careful of, not having the same thing, not having all the same things continually.
Yes.
We've got to mix it up, and we deliberately don't book some stuff 1 year and then bring it back the next year. So this year we haven't had the Strike Master pair for a while, so we're going to bring the Strike Master pair back this year, along with the MiG and of course the Red Arrows on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Normally have them on Friday as well, but there's I think we're sharing with a Families Day at Bryce Norton, so
Yeah.
that's why we can't have them on the Friday, but they will be with us. And of course, we've just announced that on the Sunday, operational restrictions apply, of course, because it's military. The whole team is coming to press the flesh on the Sunday before their display. So we're going to hopefully see 3 Junos arrive full of red suits, and they'll
That'd be
come
really
and
cool.
shake hands and do autographs and things on the Sunday. They'll be based at, I think they're based at East Midlands for our 2 displays. So that'll be nice. That'll be very nice to see the guys, and 'cause we only ever get to see Red 10, so all the guys should be with us, and who knows? Well, I wouldn't say any who knows, because that'll be fun if it happens. So yes, that's that on the Sunday.
How far in advance do you plan the air show, and what are the key milestones you aim to hit within the first few months?
How far advanced? Well, we finish on the Monday. Our first planning meeting's on the Wednesday.
When's
That
after the show?
sounds- Yeah, Wednesday after
Wow.
the show is our first
Oh,
planning
wow.
meeting. So we have to plan getting contracts out for the site. Ragley are very good with us. They're not free, but they are cheaper than some other places that we could go. But it's still a significant amount of money, and that's the problem with Midlands. We have to pay for everything. There's nothing there. We have to put everything in: fencing, toilets, water, electrics, sound. You name it, it's got to be put in, and it's got to be put in within 2 days. So that's a logistical nightmare. Thankfully, I don't have to worry about that. That's down to our event organizer. And I say event organizer, everything land side of the crowd line. I hate calling it a crowd line. It's the audience line. We don't have crowds. We have audiences, and I'm very, very a stickler for that. A crowd is something different. An audience is what we do our show to.
Yeah.
And that's the same for our commentary team. I brief them and I say, you've got 3 people in the commentary team. That's you 2, and the audience is sitting on the end of your desk.
Yeah.
So you treat them exactly how you would treat them if they're in the commentary box. That's what we do. We respect everybody, and we really appreciate anybody that buys a ticket for our efforts. Is really appreciated. We don't take them for granted. None of them. They're all. A lot of them are our friends over the years. A lot of them we can see. We see in the same places, sat in the same places with their same picnics, and you see the little children and the little families growing up in front of you year by year, and they come up and say hello and everything. So it's that's the sort of thing we do, and that's the sort of thing we want. We don't want to be a Riat, or even anywhere near a Riat, because Riat is a completely and utterly different show to us. We want to be different. We want to be the Midlands Air Festival, and it's called an air festival for a reason, because we try and get every type of display, aviation, including balloons and airships sometimes, into the programme. That's why we called it a festival, not an air show. It is an air show in the true sense of the word, but we're also an air festival.
Yeah, I think, we must have come 3 years ago now for the first time. I think ever since then it's been a thing on our calendar that's like, we're going to Midlands Air Festival because it's just so unique. You know, we've been to Cosford many, many a times and you get cramped up with everyone. The fact that you're sat in that sort of natural sort of dome around the display
Yeah,
line,
it's a
you've got
natural
space in
bowl.
front of you.
We've got a bit of space. We've got the hill, so that you can sort of find. You don't have to be on the crowd line
Mm,
to see everything. You can go up the hill a little bit and still see everything.
yeah.
We've brought in I wouldn't say it's a VIP enclosure, but we've brought in a seated enclosure
Mm,
on the crowd line. But what we are very, very hot on is that we won't put a marquee up
yeah.
for the VIPs. You only get a seat, and that's because everybody else can sit behind you and see everything.
Mm,
There's no marquees on the crowd line. The only thing that we've got is the ATC and the commentary box. It's got to be on the crowd line. If we could put it somewhere else, we would. But that site dictates that we've got to be there. So that's the only thing. That's the only obstruction that we've got on there. Everything else is the sight lines are good. So yeah.
you've mentioned it previously. You know, you said when setting up, there's literally nothing there. How difficult is it to organise an air show away from an actual airfield airport? Setting up air traffic control, setting up the ability to fly everything in. How difficult is that?
You want the one word answer?
You can give us the one word and then a longer
Very.
explanation if you want.
Yeah, it's tricky. We've got to have set up two frequencies of air traffic control. It's not actual air traffic control. It's called ground air,
Mm,
which is less taxing, shall we say, for everybody than a full air traffic control. But it does the same thing. We've got two different radio frequencies talking to do two different stages of the aviation. Um, Aircraft will come to a certain point out to the west. They will call us on Ragley display. They'll call us on Ragley radio, which is one frequency. They'll get told whether we're on time or not. The pilots will ask if the questions that they want to ask, and then they'll get changed over to Ragley display, which is a quiet frequency for them when they start to display, and we give them authority to commence their display. So it'll
mm,
be they'll call up and say, "Spitfire ready," and I'll go. Well, sort of the operator will say, "Spitfire, commence your display." Then we shut up on that frequency and let them go on. So they're not listening. They don't have to listen to all the other chatter
mm,
that the other aircraft are going on about. So if they want fuel or they want a departure slot or anything, that's going on the other frequency.
yeah.
So the actual people that are displaying at the time have got a silent, a quiet frequency. And the only time we would come up on that is if we give a safety call, like a too low, too slow, or in very, very very, very rare occasions, a stop call if we don't think the pilot is having a good day and he's been too close too many times. He'll get a stop, 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 and that'll be the end of his display, and he will have to go away. But I don't think we've had a stop call at Ragley. We've had a few too lows and too closes, but they're just more reminders than safety calls.
Yeah.
Just gives the pilot a bit of a jolt and say, "Hey, you're getting too close. You're just stepping over the line from the two display lines. We've got two display lines that the bigger aircraft display on the 230-meter line. That's 230 meters away from the crowd line,
Mm-hmm.
audience line. And then the lighter ones, the smaller ones, are allowed to come into the 150-meter line. So if they overstep that, and we've got people out in the field that's sort of looking down those lines on radios to us, If they overstep that, they'll get a bit of a too close. And if they do it 3 times, then on the third time they get a stop call because they're not taking any notice.
Hmm.
Biggest problem with that is a nasty on crowd wind. If you get a nasty on crowd wind, the pilots are put to a bit more stress because they've got to remember their display, and they've also got to keep looking at visual cues out of the aircraft to see that they're not drifting and they're not being caught by the on crowd wind. So we would give them another warning when they arrive. So we would say, Spitfire, commence caution on crowd wind. And that would give them a little bit of a heads up that they've got to leave a little bit more leeway. Otherwise, they're going to get shouted at by me or my colleague.
Yeah, so thank you for that. But also, so leading on to probably just another question, I believe you may have touched on this, but or briefly covered it. But so, like, what's the difficulties, like, specific difficulties do you face when putting together an airshow that obviously uses both aircraft and obviously hot air balloons? And other such things as well. Like, what sort of difficulties are faced with them? Because obviously they're two different modes of, well, aerial
Yes,
transportation.
we're pretty good at arranging them and keeping them apart from each other. We have a tethering arena, which is in the crowd or in the audience, and we get static tethers of balloons in there during the day. Um, we don't fly balloons and display aircraft together on the same time slots. So the timings are such that the most of the balloons fly very early in the morning before we start flying, and after we've finished what we call our 86. Our 86, the Article 86 is the permission that we get from the CAA to hold an air show, and that's timed. So when the 86 runs out, we revert to being a field, and therefore then the balloons can come out and play.
Oh, that's very
So
interesting to know. Actually, I did not know that.
yeah, oh
Uh,
yeah, we've got several. We have to have an Article 86, which is the CAA permission to have an air show. We've got to have an Article 89, which is permission to drop articles from an airplane, and that can cover pyrotechnics. It can cover anything that we want to, like flower bombing, for instance.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get, the Turbs flower bomb. So we have to have an Article 89 for that, as well as an Article 86. So it's very restrictive, and we have to know our stuff with our articles and our permissions and things.
well, that's
So, yeah.
yes. So another similar-ish question, obviously, we're getting to obviously to like to everything, like stuff that happens on with everything. How do you deal with the mechanical issues on the day, like especially in regards to like participant flying order? How were those challenges approached?
Um, we juggle as much as we can, and we tend to get told of a technical problem that's building up with an aircraft, or for instance, there's crosswinds. Lancaster, for instance, is very crosswind dependent, and if the crosswinds go above their limits, they can't get out. It's not as though they can't fly with us, but they can't get out of their base airfield. So we tend to know that. Then we would phone around. There are several people that are clever enough to be on standby during air show time, and some of them get to pick up a display. They've got their DA that they can email over. They're there, they're fueled up, they're ready and waiting, and sometimes you can just pull something in. Otherwise, other times you have to stretch it out a bit, and other times you just have to say, "Ladies and gentlemen, we're sorry, but you know, go and grab yourself a cup of coffee. We've got a bit of a gap." Or with Midlands, we tend to have at least one standby aircraft on site that we can patch in, and or one of the big radio controlled models, Steve Carr, has got a massive 54, I think it is.
Mm.
And he's always standing by at 2 minutes' notice. So if we get a big gap, then we'll bring Steve out, and then we'll bring possibly Kev in the Oster.
Mm.
Kev in the Oster stands by most of the day, and he's our standby. Then we can then also drop back down to Tim Dews, who can act as a standby as well with the grobs, do a day display as well as his night display.
Yeah.
So it's tricky. Weather and tech can ruin our show, but we've got 3 tier 3 flying directors on the FCC, on the Flying Control Committee, which is enormously helpful. They can be
Yeah.
set to
Yeah.
work reorganising the program. But we also tend to organise our program, so we've got plenty of deconfliction slots in there, so we can use those deconfliction slots to either speed up or slow down the program.
That's brilliant. So, what is the most important lesson you have learnt from planning air shows?
Go on holiday. When the air show's on, go away. Important lesson is get everything done well in advance. Don't let anything catch up on you, and you've got to get your ducks in a row very, very early, and try not to change anything. And at some stage, enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's quite difficult actually enjoying running an air show because the pressures on you are considerable. But there are times when you have a bit of fun, and the guys that we have on board on the Flying Control Committee are all great guys. In fact, they're one's an ex Red Arrows, Red 10. Another one is the FTD for RIAT, and another one used to be the RAF officer in charge of flight safety for the whole RAF, and he's a retired Air Commodore. So we got some really good guys around us that can cope with anything, and nothing really amazes us. We can just look at something and get on with it.
Mm.
So, final question: how did you get into the airshow circuit and planning air shows?
Oh, we're going way back now. If you want to go way back and make me look ancient, which is quite easy. I started many, many thousands of years ago with a little family business, and we started off as a little communications PA company, and we started to get into my father was ex-RAF, so we naturally sort of attributed ourselves to air shows. We wanted to get into the air show market, and at the time sound and commentary in those days was appalling. In some cases it still is, but in those days the sound quality and facilities were appalling. And we went down to the Bournemouth Air Show at Herne many, many years ago, and saw a terrible sound system, and the poor old commentator, and in fact it was John Blake, who was a very famous commentator at Farnborough and at Biggin Hill. Many of the older people will know of John, sadly passed away now. And he was standing out in a wind-blown field, trying to hold a mic in one hand and notes in the other hand that were flying away. And my father and I looked at each other and we said, we can do much better than that. So we went home and got the address of the people that were running the air show. It turned out to be that they were the same people that were running the Biggin Hill International Airfair. So we went up to see them and we said, can we quote for the sound and commentary at Herne? And they said no. I said, well, we've come a long way. He said, no, you can't, sorry. He said, we're not doing that show anymore. But you can quote for the Biggin Hill International Airfair. We sort of stepped back and gulped, because Biggaville Airfair was a pretty massive. It was on the level of Farnborough. So we said, of course, yes, we can do it. And they said, right, okay, you're in. So our very first proper air show was one of the biggest in the country,
Oh,
and
wow.
it gave us heart attacks. We got through it, and they liked it. They said, brilliant, that was excellent. The sound was great. The commentary quality was excellent. I've never heard it like that before. So that's how I got into it. Then I started doing commentary production, and a bit of production. And then Ellie Sallingbow came along and said, I'm starting an air show. Would you do the sound and the production for it? I said, yeah, of course I would. I'd said in those days, I'd say yes to anything. So I got involved in that air show, the Great Warbirds. And highlight of that was I managed, in conjunction with Andy Stewart, squadron leader Andy Stewart, I managed to get the Red Arrows to fly with the Vulcan in formation.
Oh, wow.
And at that time, the Ministry of Defence aircraft never flew with anybody except themselves. So the Red Arrows would never, before that, had never flown with anybody else. And we worked tirelessly for a month or so, talking to various people up the chain, and eventually it happened. And it was on the last show at West Malling, and we managed to get the Vulcan to come in V formation with the Red Arrows, and that was astounding. Really, that's absolutely amazing. And then, of course, it was done a lot after that, but it's the first time it was ever done. We did it, and that was that's what got me even more hooked into air shows, the air show world. And then that just developed into commentating myself, and then from being a commentator, getting a qualification as a flying director, and then running shows, and then eventually creating our own shows. So we do two now that we do, which is Midlands and Longleat. We actually do all the flying, the balloon flying and the display flying for Longleat, but we don't organise that show. We just do the flying for them. They do the rest because they've got the lions and we haven't got any lions. We've got lions and hippopotamuses and things. So
yeah, interesting.
If the wind's too bad, we can go and see the hippos. Bit of fun. Yeah, so that was me. That's my. I was. My mother was operations manager down at Southampton Airport when I was a young boy. My father was ex-RAF. My uncle flew in Swordfish, and my other uncle built de Havilland jets. So I was pretty stuffed, really. There was nothing else that I should be in, really, than aviation.
Yeah.
In fact, my very, 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 very first memory of anything was looking up in the sky, and I must have been about 3, if that, and seeing the Princess flying boat, which was based down in Cowes, on one of its test flights. And I remember seeing it flying over our house. I was in the garden at the time, flying over in the sky with a little chase aircraft, and that's how I knew that it was genuine. My memory was genuine because I remember the chase aircraft with it as well. So, next.
So to finish off then, Midlands Air Festival still got some tickets available, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, very much so. We're close to selling out on Saturday. We've got some tickets left on Sunday and Friday. Some of the stuff like premium car parking is sold out Saturday, I think, possibly Sunday. A few campsites available, but generally we're heading for another sellout. So yeah, guys, get your tickets now. They won't be any cheaper. We won't get cheaper.
Well, I
We
was
don't
just about to
do
say, if you wanted to say anything to anyone to convince them, if they listen to this, they've got a couple of weeks. Go
Well,
and
yeah. I
buy
Yeah.
mean,
tickets.
we probably will have a price rise on the days leading up to. Not massive, but there will be a price rise. We are still holding children free under 13, so we're trying to help out the families and bring them in. But we've got to try and make the thing work financially. So we need people to support us. Um, it looks like, from a distance, when you add up all the ticket sales, all that money goes. Everything goes. Everything is spent. Um, we very rarely make anything out of it. If we cover our expenses, we're happy.
Yeah.
If we can pay our bills, we're delighted. And basically anything that is over that, it goes into the pot for next year. Oh, we must say one thing. We've got a nice merchandise offering this year, which we've never done before. We've got an absolute ripper of a airshow poster. It's to
Yes. Yeah.
celebrate the 90th anniversary, and I think that we haven't got that many of them. So if you want an airshow poster, I think they're brilliant. I would do because I sort of partially designed it. So it's the sort of thing that you can frame up quite easily. It's in A2. You can frame it up quite easily, and it's a sort of a non-enthusiast thing. It looks like a something that you would find in an antique shop, and sort of a pastiche of a 1930s poster. So yeah, and then there's other stuff, there's cups and mugs and things, but that's the thing that I'm most proud of, and I hope we'll sell out on those.
I hope so too.
Hope so as well.
Well, thank you very much for coming on. Thank you for discussing everything Midlands, because it's so interesting as a group of aviation enthusiasts to. We started this to learn about how air shows started and just speak about how we enjoy them so much. So thank you for coming on and explaining how Midlands starts, as it's a very unique air show in itself, and how you go about doing it every year and starting a couple of days after the show's finished for next year.
It's a nightmare. There's about 3 of us that are in the actual inner circle planning, and that is at least 2 telephone calls 7 days a week that we're having.
So
or the Facebook chime goes off and oh no, not him again. Give me a break, Yeah. No, nice to speak.
Yeah, we're coming on the Saturday,
Definitely.
so we're gonna be there. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for listening. That has been our conversation with Trevor Graham from the Midlands Air Festival. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for supporting the show. We really, really appreciate it. Go follow us on social media to keep up with the updates. Hopefully we're going to get some more special guests on throughout this year. And what an interesting listen that was.
Indeed.
And learning about Midlands Air Festival.
Get your tickets.
Yes, get
Yes,
your tickets.
Get your tickets. Otherwise,
Thank you
you'll have
everyone
us
for
three
listening.
on you.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for listening. We've been the Air Show Room. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.